Welcome back to the Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a really crucial dataset, the third week of August 2026 for the Pakistan Polymer Bazaar. Look, if you're navigating the raw material space right now, you already know exactly how incredibly volatile things are out there. So we're going to break down exactly what is driving this current bullish market, and more importantly, how you can strategically position yourself to not just survive, but actually navigate it effectively. Let's dive right in.
Now, the framework we're using here is absolutely crucial. This report comes straight from the official desks at Polymer Bazaar, and it's anchored by their core philosophy: price, prediction, and profit. We aren't just looking at historical numbers today, right? We're using the absolute latest pricing data to predict exactly where the supply chain is fracturing. Why? So you can protect your profit margins in what has honestly become a highly volatile environment.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with a market trend overview. Then we'll examine global supply chain disruptions. After that, we'll track how that impacts local Karachi price adjustments, follow up with international CFR price shifts, and finally, we'll wrap up with some strategic procurement solutions.
All right, Section 1, Market Trend Overview, the bullish shift in Pakistan's polymer market. Okay, so the single biggest takeaway from the current supply dynamics is that we're looking at a really strong possibility of further price increases. Honestly, if you're a buyer holding out for a sudden, massive price drop, you might be waiting for a ship that just isn't coming. What we're seeing instead is this gradual, steady upward movement. And you might be wondering, why? Well, it's because there's a remarkably tight spot market supply right now. Sure, we might see some brief, minor technical corrections day to day, but the underlying trend, it is undeniably bullish. The pressure on domestic pricing is very real and it's sustained.
Moving on to Section 2, Global Supply Chain Disruptions, Navigating Geopolitical Friction.
You see, the root cause of this current market squeeze isn't actually local at all. It's entirely international. Supply routes are facing severe friction because of ongoing maritime tensions in some of the world's major global choke points, specifically around the Strait of Hormuz and the Red Sea. Just looking at the data impartially, I literally cannot overstate how much these geopolitical realities are directly impacting polymer shipments right into Pakistan. Vessels are being rerouted, transit is slowing way down, and the entire logistical pipeline is just backing up.
Which leads us to a very critical and honestly pretty sobering number: 2.5.
That 2.5 represents the extreme end of the delivery delays we are currently tracking. We are talking about up to 2.5 months of delivery delays. Shipment cancellations are rising, and rescheduled transit times are absolutely devastating standard inventory models. Think about it. If your manufacturing pipeline relies on precisely timed international raw material deliveries, a 2.5-month delay isn't just a minor inconvenience, right? It can completely halt your factory lines. And this dynamic brilliantly illustrates the resulting shift in strategy happening right now across the market. Middle Eastern imports are heavily exposed to these ongoing shipping delays because of those exact maritime tensions we just talked about. But in stark contrast, Chinese suppliers are currently offering much shorter transit times and highly consistent material availability. Because of this massive difference in reliability, importers are aggressively shifting their sourcing strategies. They're prioritizing China over the Middle East, simply to bypass the worst of that shipping friction.
Okay, let's hit Section 3, Local Karachi Price Adjustments, Adapting to the PKR 2 to 3 average increase. Let's break down the first half of the local Karachi Bazaar rates. You can see the upward pressure clear as day here. The data shows an overarching average upward adjustment of 2 to 3 Pakistani rupees per unit across the board. For instance, PP injection 125 is sitting at 234 rupees per kilo, while the Chinese equivalent is at 228. And check out the random 668 jumping up to 334. Every single one of these revised rates is a direct reflection of that tight spot market supply and the global shipping delays we were just mapping out.
And here's the rest of the local adjustments. We've got LDPE 374 hitting 317 and various blow grades hovering in the mid-260s to 270s. So if you are manufacturing films, packaging, or rigid plastics, you can use these figures to see exactly how your specific material costs have escalated just this week. The sheer consistency of this price hike across all these grades really confirms the broad, inescapable impact of the supply squeeze on the local market.
All right, moving to Section 4, International CFR Price Shifts, Analyzing the $10 to $15 per metric ton increase. So the really crucial point here is that it's not just the local Karachi spot market that's inflated. The international cost and freight, or CFR, offers for Karachi port are up universally. Looking at this data, from PVC at the lower end, which is now at $807 per metric ton, all the way up to PP copolymer at $1,302 per metric ton, we are seeing a rigid upward adjustment of $10 to $15 globally. Whether it's HDPE blow molding or LLDPE, the foundational cost of simply landing these materials at the port has undeniably increased.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, Strategic Procurement Solutions, Actionable Steps for the Immediate Future. Now, I want to read this quote directly from the report because it is easily the most vital piece of strategic advice today. It says, buyers and manufacturers with active raw material needs should lock in orders early to mitigate further supply delays. Hope is simply not a procurement strategy right now. Securing your pipeline early is your absolute best primary defense against this bullish trend and those 2.5-month maritime delays. To adapt, you really need to execute on a few key fronts. First, strongly consider shifting your polymer sourcing from the Middle East to China. Second, you need to streamline your trade coordination and utilize real-time market updates. And finally, leverage industry specialists. Entities like Continental Polymers are specifically positioned to assist Pakistani manufacturers and importers with these exact pivots. They can help secure that vital Chinese sourcing, coordinate the trade logistics, and provide those crucial real-time updates. And speaking of real-time updates, in a market moving this fast, delayed information literally costs you margin. The report actually highlights an AI-powered WhatsApp chatbot specifically for Pakistan. If you need direct, real-time updates sent straight to your phone, you can reach them at +91 93746 24365. This is an absolutely incredible tool for executives and procurement professionals who need the fastest information possible to make agile purchasing decisions on the fly. Well, we've covered a tremendous amount of ground today, tracing the friction from the Strait of Hormuz all the way down to a 2 rupee increase in the Karachi Bazaar. But I want to leave you with this provocative thought. With global choke points tightening and prices steadily marching upward, is your supply chain agile enough to survive the next quarter? Take a really hard look at your procurement strategy before the next global shift catches you off guard. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep adapting, and I'll see you next time as we unpack the data that drives your world.